Hello and welcome to the Warhammer Meta Chasers. This is your weekly tournament rundown show for the biggest and best events coming up for Warhammer 40,000 all around the globe. My name is Paul, your host. I'm joined by Adam Camilleri.
G'day.
Oh, he's okay.
And Dustin Henshaw.
Hello, everyone.
We have two great events to bring you coverage from this weekend. Going to be the South Coast Super Major and the Rocky Mountain Open. But want to give an event shout out to one of our patrons on the Patreon, the Danish Open. 76 players and 16 teams of 5 happening, 5 rounds. And I told you we were worldwide, absolutely worldwide. Great to see this event happening, and thanks for submitting it.
Yeah, absolutely awesome of them. I wish, I only wish I got it to a little bit earlier. I'd already finished the show notes when they posted it, and I was like, dang it, I would have totally covered that. That sounds awesome.
This is a live show. If you're listening to it after the fact, know that you can come join us live each and every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We have some great folks in the chat. Nurgle Matt, great to see you. Brightastic Craft, Ivar Helston, building some Taraxi while listening. KR, Dorian, hope you all are doing well. And anybody else that has not said what's up in the chat, thanks for joining us. Let's go ahead and get to it.
I just hope the person building Taraxi has delicate fingers and tolerance for flight stands, because oh boy, there's a lot.
They're a lot of model, like
they are. Well, so there's not a lot of plastic, but a lot of model.
Yeah, yeah, I love them though. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah, fantastic.
First event we're going to be covering is the South Coast Super Major. This is from Havant. This is outside of Portsmouth, England. 265 players, 7-round event. I knew that it was Portsmouth because over here it'd be Portsmouth.
Yep. They just like cutting off letters when they can. It's like, why say more letter when less letter, do trick.
Look, sometimes we had a lot of vowels where I come from.
Nobody has time to say every single letter in the alphabet every time. Come on.
If you're from Wales, you ain't got time for vowels. Just smack those consonants together, baby. Let it roll.
Look, in a so 265 players, 7-round event. What are we going to see there?
We are going to be seeing the Imperial Perfection. There are 2 Imperial Agents. Woo! Double the representation we normally see. 2 Sisters of Battle. 18 Custodes. 7 Admech, 19 Astra Militarum, 6 Grey Knights, 7 Imperial Knights, Space Marines. There's 25 Adeptus Astartes, 8 Dark Angels, 2 Space Wolves, 12 Blood Angels, 1 Black Templar, and 3 Death Watch. Chaos is 15 Chaos Space Marines, 4 T-Suns, 12 Death Guard, 13 World Leaders, 15 Demons, and 11 Chaos Knights. Xenos, there's 14 Necrons, 14 Orcs, 13 Tau, and 7 Votan. Hivemind, there's 12 Tyranids and 5 Genestealer cults. Eldari, there's 2 Drukhari and 15 Eldari, meaning the faction podium is Adeptus Astartes, topping it off with 25. Astra Militarum, a little bit behind them with 19. Then Custodes right on their tier with 18. CSM, Demons, Eldari tied with 15. And then Orcs and Necrons after that with 14.
I'm surprised about a couple of those things.
Yeah, what jumps out to you?
Well, low Eldari, low Orc numbers after like newness and detachments and like.
And that's juxtaposed with. So when I was first doing these stats, because naturally I started at the top of the list, I worked my way down. I saw only 2 sisters, and was like, only 2 sisters. And then I checked. Then I immediately checked on Orcs. Immediately checked on Custodes numbers as well. And I'm like, oh no, they got big numbers. So I went and checked on lists. And I'm like, okay, so they're using the new everything. So why are the sisters numbers still so low? And still don't know, because you'll see that that's not transpired in our next event. But if you were to knock off Adeptus Astartes from the faction podium and then add the 13s, which is Tau and World Eaters, this is a fantastic spread. The middle of the pack numbers are actually quite beautiful in their step down. But that is a decent cliff of 6 players between Adeptus Astartes and Astra Militarum, and then stepping down from there.
It's funny to see all those vanilla Marines now, though.
Yeah,
like
it really is.
Marines.
Well, they didn't.
What happened? I don't know.
All those counts ass chapters. I'm telling you, love and life right now. That's absolutely cool.
Blue, red, gold, green, Gillimans as far as the eye can see.
The Vermilion Nighthawks. This is your time to shine.
Turns out +1 to wound on demand is pretty good, and people are willing
if I had
chapters to do it.
Yeah, if I had 15 to 30 more minutes in my life, I would have done a detachment breakdown for the Adeptus Astartes, because my instinct was that Adeptus Astartes and numbers were going to go down, and we'd see more Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Space Wolves, Templars, Death Watch, and stuff. But the Death Watch numbers have stayed very low. Despite I've never seen a faction win the LVO and then not get a big lift in like the month or two after. And Deathwatch has definitely, that's been the case for Deathwatch. They have not gotten any significant lift off their, you know, end of the former ITC season win. So, but yeah, I did expect
commitment though to
it,
build
it
out those
is.
squads if you're starting from scratch. So
Yeah, because the
you know,
biggest issue is, unlike every other one, I guess, apart from Space Wolves and Templars, well, even actually not even Templars. Like apart from Space Wolves and Deathwatch, every other Space Marine army has a core that's mobile that you can just shift from detachment to detachment, chapter to chapter, etc., etc. You know, your infiltrators, your inceptors, your incursors, intercessors, all those things. Deathwatch is completely unique in the fact that you need different numbers of all these different kits to make you know, effective kill teams, being the Indomitar or the Talon Strike. And then you have Deathwatch Vets, which is a completely unique kit all in of itself. And then essentially, unless you literally have walking Vanguard veterans, you don't really have anything in your army from a generalist Adeptus Astartes list that makes it into Deathwatch. And so you have to be a Deathwatch player. Unlike other Space Marines, like I could essentially just build a 1,500 point or probably 1,200 point core of Adeptus Astartes vanilla, and then I could, you know, buy my Deathwing Knights, buy my Black Knights, buy my Thundercav, buy my, you know, Sangha, Death Company, etc., and then just have like a 2,000 point of every chapter. But yeah, for Deathwatch, it is not the case.
Chad is mentioning that they probably think a lot of those Astartes are Ultramarines. They probably are, and that's absolutely fine too. Also want to say hey to a couple of folks that have jumped in there, downvoting people. Gene Steeler, hey Steve, good to see y'all jumping in the chat. And you know, like it is the Astartes, like it's a shining moment out there for them. Lots of different variations how to build things.
Yeah, well, what I want to say is I'm really happy to see demons make the podium still. I was really worried that after the Slaneshi change, people would be left with a bad feel and they'd go elsewhere and they would just abandon the faction.
That new
And
demon
I'm very...
is fire. It is fire.
It is really good, but it's also really clunky and hard to wield.
True.
It's very similar to an Eldari list, like, because there is like, it's very unclear which path to take. Do you go the Blood Crushers? Do you go the Monster Mash? Do you just go Nurgling Jail, triple ACDC bricks? There's so many different paths to take in that.
Every single thing you just said, the answer is yes to all of them. You just do all of
them. You can't get it all, though. You can't get it all. Once you've got your, like, now ubiquitous Be'lakor, ubiquitous probably Bloodthirster that bounces out of combat, then you go to, oh, well, I want 3x5 Fleshhounds. Fleshhounds are absolutely incredible at the moment, and then I want some flamers because I want an Overwatch threat and I want a good screen from Deep Strike. And then you go, oh,
you gotta take screamers, man. Screamers.
Well, exactly right. Then you take screamers, like, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, am I actually taking any Chaos Space Marines in this list? Then you're like, oh well, okay, I want Havocs to sit in Bellacor's aura, and then you like look at your points and you're like, 1865. Where did the points go? That's what people are finding.
No characters yet, you know.
You can't have it all. And yeah, you want a couple of Ren Masters, you know, Blood Crushers, like, you know, you're done. That's the list. So, but still very happy to see them with high numbers. But yeah, Orcs is weird. They're a little on the low side. Eldari's a little on the low side as well. I was
definitely expecting Orcs to be like zooming up in the stratosphere.
I will say, like, if you played 8th edition Orcs, you have this army. You have the Daka army. You have all the looters. You probably have the tank busters. You may or may not have enough flash kits, but you definitely have enough Gretchen. And you're gonna yes. Oh, I can't wait to see someone do the more Daka Stomper. That is just chadness. So good. But yeah, that's pretty much the rundown here. Really good numbers in the middle of the pack, just below the top 2 slots. But to the top players in attendance, and the first of which is Brian Sipe, some, you know, touted internationally as one of the best Orc players in the world, representing Team Ignite. He is playing Orcs, and he's playing more Daka, or in my terms, a thoroughly excessive Daka.
Wow.
An excess of Daka. Far too much for the points Daka. He's got 2 big mechs, one with Zogoth and Eat Daka, because they just have like the best named stuff in that detachment as well. 3 big mechs with shock attack guns, no surprise, one of which has the dead shiny shooters. Zodrog, who is, I think, ubiquitous in this detachment now. 3x5 flash kits, a unit of 11 and a unit of 22 Gretchen. Of course, the unit of 22 goes with Zogrod and puts you in jail if he goes first, especially. 3x6 tank busters, 3x10 looters, 10 commandos, and 5 trucks, boys. What do we make of it?
Thank you. This is the first one that I've seen, and I've been saying it forever. You need a unit of commandos.
It's correct.
You
so
need it.
The interplay here is that the fact that so many orc players are expecting there to be so many orc players, especially at the top tables towards the top end, that they need to beat each other. And the only way to beat each other is to be the one that doesn't get locked in jail by Zodrog. So to do that, you literally need to have commandos to zone off their scout. Otherwise, if you go second in the mirror, you may still end up tabling the opponent because likely the person who goes first doesn't get any shots. And then you start getting shot. But doesn't matter if you win by 20 points on the primary.
You see, the thing is, a lot of people have been saying, "Oh, but you lose so much shooting." Like, really? I still see 3 units of tank buses, 3 units of Ludus, 3 units of flash kits. You lose what? A unit of Gretchen and I don't know, maybe a character.
Dude,
there's a lot of trucks in this list too. So
that 5 trucks, I think, is the number for this. You need the 5.
Okay,
they're a big part of this.
Yeah, I think 5 is correct. I'm interested to see if anybody can try and make what are the big ones? The battle wagons work in this as well, because I see 1 battle wagon as being okay, but I generally think the trucks are better. And the 10 commandos. 10 commandos ain't nothing either. They'll go zone off your opponent's scouts and deep strikes, and then go clear an objective turn 1 if they need to. And then so there is a lot of debate about how much DACA you need in the DACA list, and a lot of people are taking melee assets. Most notably, I think one of the best one I've seen taken a lot is the Beast Boss with Beast Snagger Boys for the 1 CP rerolls to wound. Whilst on an objective, and then that Beast Boss with anti-monster, anti-vehicle 4+ dev wounds with rolls to wound just kind of goes and kills a knight pretty much. And so I think that's a really good package as well. But Brian's of the opinion that you just don't need it. With the Gretchen control that you get from Zodrog, you kind of just don't need the melee. You can always kind of keep at distance and wall your opponent off. But there is a lot of talk about the interplay and what can be done to beat this thoroughly excessive amount of DACA.
Orcs aren't necessarily bad at fighting in hand-to-hand combat. Like their base stat line is pretty good.
All of those like shooty orcs are still orcs in close combat.
They're still like 3 attacks each, at a minimum.
So if you can get the initiative essentially, and that's what the commandos is providing. I like that thought about how to crack the mirror.
Yeah, it's big. It's very big in the mirror because essentially you're just rolling off to see which one of you doesn't get to leave their deployment zone turn 1. And it can be a very big deal. And Zodrog's unit is not just like easy to kill. It is going to be 22 wounds plus Zodrog himself. In the War turn, if they go first and get to jail you, they will be 5 up invuln. They'll be -1 to wound, and then they'll have just like infinite movement and annoyance. A lot of people are talking about how to build in anti-Zodrog tech. Of course, the best thing to do is take your own infiltrators and block off their scout, but then there's commandos, so essentially it's a roll-off for who gets to drop first, and then that must be your first drop. Your first drop must stop their commandos from pushing back yours, and then you get them into play there. The other way is to build in a really good Overwatch. The problem is, to be able to Overwatch that unit when it scouts up and jails you, you need to be pretty much in a firing lane, and there's a lot of tables where you can't not just be dead. And your opponent will just be like, well, I don't need to jail you now. You've given me a good unit to kill turn 1. So I'm just going to sit back here and take my freebie and keep Zodrog's unit anyway. Yeah. So it is annoying. There are ways and means, but it is very annoying. You got to remember
too that even if you block the scout, they're going to move 12 plus an advance and still charge and shoot. So
yeah.
Blocking the scout doesn't save you necessarily.
Not necessarily at all. Anyway,
so much
Brian,
so much wagon.
Correct. Brian is going to do very well at this one, but I have one more list to pull out for these 2 big old super majors. Dom Maidlow from 6+++, playing Astra Militarum, and what is old is new once again. Combined Arms is back, or Combined Regiment as it was known in Index days, and this is literally just a list from 6 months ago. And there was nothing wrong with it then, and there's nothing wrong with it now. He's got a Caden Command Squad with Death Mask of Alanius, a Commissar. He has Creed, 2 Regal Dawn tank commanders, Gaunt's Ghosts, 10 Cadians, 2x10 Catachans, 2 Tauroxes, 3 units of 10 Kazakin, because they are a lot cheaper now than Scions, a Krieg heavy weapons team with Flamers, 2 Lehman Ross battle tanks, and 2 Scout Sentinels. Remember what I was saying about the Overwatch threat? I actually think that might be what the Krieg heavy weapons team is here, to just be like, well, here's a bunch of strength 6. Overwatch, and they don't plan. And so when I was talking about an Overwatch, you don't want an Overwatch that's going to kill 22 Gretchen through a -1 to wound, 5+ invuln. There's actually very few units that are worth taking that can do that. But what you want to do is have enough to kill like a third to a half of the unit, so they can't fully jail your frontage on your deployments. And then some deployments,
you would prefer to kill them all, but it's like, what do you invest in it?
Spot on. It's price. It's a price per per investment. And yes, you can take units that will and can like absolutely demolish the whole thing, but then that's like a 300-point unit to kill a 200-point unit, and then you might play into a matchup where that model does nothing. That unit does absolutely nothing.
Those heavy weapon squads with the flamers, that's not a meme unit. Like that's
No, they're legit.
Yeah,
they're absolutely legit. Anything else you jumping at you boys?
No, nothing crazy. I think this is almost a old school combined arms attachment minus the 18 Bulgrin.
Yeah. So
I mean, no Leontis. So
yeah,
no Leontis.
No longer the auto include, I don't guess. And
yeah, so people are using Krieg now as the offset, because Leontis gave you a CP every turn. Krieg makes one less CP, so it's kind of an equivalent exchange. But she's a lot harder to line up because she needs to be within 12 of the unit that's using it. But of course, you can always order herself, move 9 inches plus in advance to get into range and do stuff. But so yeah, that's like the thing is like, well, Creed is harder to wield, but like a third of the cost. So why? Yeah, I'll just do that and make my life a
just
little
get
harder.
good.
But exactly right. I'll just plan to play well, and this isn't a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially, like if you were to change the 2 Rogel Dawn tank commanders to Lehman Russ tank commanders and like add a Hellhound, this is just like a list from 6 months ago. There is pretty much, and of course, back then you would have swapped out the Kassakin for Scions because the Scions were like the same cost and had Deep Strike for pretty much the same amount of DACA. But now I think Kassakin, unless you're playing Bridgehead, I think Kassakin are better than Scions in general. Like if you're going to take multiple units, I still think one Scion Brom, like 115 from reserve, is still like always a fantastic unit to have in every list, but it is a lot of points now.
All right, gents, winners.
We do.
So here we predict which army list or player is going to come out on top here over the course of the weekend. Pick a faction by representing a faction, and
so we only have 2 events to pick. And there's a gentleman who's in the lead on points right now, whose name starts with D and ends with Dustin. So he's not going to pick first. So I'm going to 50-50 this from me or Paul. Paul, do you want 1, 2, 3 or 4, 5, 6? I'm assuming 4, 5, 6.
I will take 4, 5, 6.
How did I know? That's me. It's a 2.
Dang it.
He can say whatever he wants.
Orcs. I am legit every time. There's the 2. There's a 2 right there. I'm legit every time, boys. I would never do that to you.
Of course.
One day I'm going to do that to you.
100%.
It's going to mean something one day.
Saying that means you're going to do it someday.
You're going to need it.
But also likely means I haven't done it yet.
True.
All right, Paul, what would you like, mate?
I thought you were picking first.
He did.
I did. I picked Orcs.
Oh.
Yeah, shocking.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good pick. Well, I mean, I got to go with Astra Militarum.
Yeah, go with the big numbers, and there's some very good Astra Mil players. I think with 25 players, like Adeptus Astartes is just a very easy. You might not get first place, but it's a very confident podium pick.
Well, okay, I'm taking Astartes. Like,
chat, let us know what you think is going to win this thing.
If I knew it was going to be that easy to convince you, I would have said something silly like Drakari.
There's 25 of them, and I honestly, my 2 picks were Orcs and Astra Militarum. So, like, all right.
Yeah. We know what. So UK has a pretty defined identity a lot of the time, in that Guard is always good in the UK. On the UK TC tables, Guard is always a safe spot because it's a little bit more shooty than GW or WTC. So you feel like they're just going to be a little bit better over there. And then like Uber pressure like MSU Melee is never a bad pick in the UK, and Astartes is never a bad pick in the UK. And those are like the freaking identity points I always like to be like, well, also CSM. CSM's always seems to be a good pick in the UK as well.
Wolf Priest Carl says their votes for Space Wolves. No doubt there. Chat's also giving a lot of love to Flamers. I do think Flamers are in a real good spot right now in the game and have been this entire edition. Like just such an oppressive Overwatch threat.
Sometimes. Well, that's the reason I was talking about Flamers in the Shadow Legion. A single unit of 6 Flamers will get a lot of respect from things like the Orcs. Because you can't just like 66 Overwatch Flamers into Zodrog's unit. That cuts a huge chunk out of things frontage, and then you don't care anymore. Can't put you in jail. And that's if you flubbed. They got the first drop with the Commandos, and none of units of Nurglings got down before the Commandos could zone it off.
You're all just copying the GSC meta, man. We've been taking Flamers since the beginning. Re-rolling wound Flamers.
Let's not speak about the demo charges either.
Well, those demo charges are nothing anymore.
I know they used to be World
They
enders.
used to be world ending.
Yeah.
It was brutal. Like, so this dude on a motorbike. All right, just
Yeah. See this guy right here? WMDs. Nothing but WMDs, mate. Mass destruction. He's an idiot. His name's Jimmy, comes from the next town over, rides a dirt bike on the weekends. He's gonna throw this little stick of dynamite at you. It's gonna kill your local dawn.
like, well, not to get too far on a tangent, but like the most powerful weapon in the universe used to be like a broken stop
It was
sign.
a stop sign, yeah, that's right.
It was.
Now, to
It
be
was.
fair, all of my demo charges are not just a single stick of dynamite. They're throwing the whole case of dynamite at you. They're all equipped with a case of them.
I'm glad this played out in your mind, but it was me. It was just,
I liked it better when it was just like a single firecracker, just like flicking a cherry bomb.
Cherry bomb, that makes
Oh
sense.
my goodness. Next event we're going to talk about is the Rocky Mountain Open. This is from Brighton, Colorado, USA. 227 players competing over 6 rounds. Dustin, what are we going to see there?
In the Imperial Super Faction, there are 4 Sisters of Battle, 13 Custodes, 4 Admech, 13 Astra Militarum, 1 Grey Knight, and 9 Imperial Knights. Space Marines, 23 Adeptus Astartes, 7 Dark Angels, 3 Space Wolves, 10 Blood Angels, 6 Black Templar, and 1 Death Watch. Chaos, there's 12 Chaos Space Marines, 1 T-Sun, 11 Death Guard, 9 World Eaters, 11 Demons, 9 Chaos Knights. Xenos, there's 9 Necrons, 15 Orcs, 8 Tau, and 7 Votan. Hive Mind, there's 17 Tyranids. What? Wow.
Chaos, this is their meta. Let us know what's going on.
Wow, that's amazing. 5 Genes to their cult. Eldari, there's 2 Drukhari again, and 10 Eldari. I mean, the faction podium is Adeptus Astartes topping off with 23. Tyranids in second with 17. Still that blue cliff. And then Orcs at 15. Custodes and Astra Militarum next at 13. And the Chaos Space Marines after that with 12.
So 5, 1, 2, 3. So 5. So the reason I wanted to spend a lot of time on these 2 events because they're about the same size. They're pretty much the same size, same density of players, and it's just a really cool snapshot to see what's going on, from one side of the world to the other. But yeah, only Tyranids. Tyranids is the only one that shows up here that didn't show up in the previous one. Apart from that, everything else is the same faction podium almost.
And showed up with a whole tendril.
Yeah. Tyranids just like high-fleeted their way straight into this. Demons and Necrons and Custodians were on the previous podium and didn't make it here. So what were you saying?
Nothing.
But let's do a little cross comparison here, shall we? So Grey Knights is much down comparatively. So 6 Grey Knights to 1 Grey Knight. Double the Sisters of Battle between. So South Coast had 2, whereas there's 4, which still isn't a huge amount.
Yeah, I don't know if that's
double.
saying much.
Yeah, I don't know if saying much either. Way more Knights, I believe. So 9 Imperial Knights versus it's still 7 Imperial Knights. 11 Chaos Knights versus 9 Chaos Knights. So that's pretty much on par. And then the Astartes numbers are virtually the same. It's 23 versus 25, and they've got 30 odd more, so 40 odd more players there. So that kind of makes absolute sense. So yeah, a lot of this lines up. To a forming meta internationally that kind of is very similar. Death Guard and Demons, World Eaters, good numbers. Chaos Space Marines, good numbers. The Orcs had a bit more representation here, despite having less overall players. And Eldari had much less representation here. So it was 10 Eldari versus, I believe, it was 15 Eldari in the previous. Yeah, 15 Eldari. So Eldari isn't having the huge, overwhelming surge that we thought it would when the Codex came out. And that may be still some hobby lag, or that may be that it's there's just other awesome new stuff coming out all the time now. And so people are just like, oh, well, cool, I'll just play
They
this
do
instead.
also die to some flamers. So they can't deny that Overwatch all the time.
Mate, in 10th edition 40k, I got to tell you, everything kills 5 Eldari models.
That's true.
That's
true.
Everything. The game.
I mean,
the
battle
game
focus does help. It only goes so far. Maybe that's
correct.
We'll see.
Yeah, correct.
You run in a 10 cult, they will kill 5 Eldari easily too.
Yeah. And so the geographical meta differences here, of course, is Tyranids, 17 Tyranids versus 12. And the 12 Tyranids is still a very healthy number at South Coast. And then T-Suns having 4 over in the UK versus 1 isn't hugely highlighting either. But the same numbers of Adeptus Astartes kind of tracks. So we have 25 Adeptus Astartes, 8 Dark Angels, 2 Space Wolves, 12 Blood Angels, 1 Templar, 3 Death Watch. And then we have virtually mirrored numbers. 23 Adeptus Astartes, 7 Dark Angels versus 8. So 23 over here, 25 in previous was, I think, 8 or 9 Dark Angels to 7, 2 to 3. And then, the Blood Angels was easily the second most taken of the Loyalist Space Marines, 12 to 10. So that tells you a lot about where people think Space Marines is headed. But we have 2 lists for your viewing pleasure, and this first one is a straight hand pass to Dusty Boy because it's lids.
Oh,
Give some shout out.
yeah.
Lab Scallion is doing some prep for tournaments they're running. So I want to give a shout out to that. This totally does count. So thanks for joining us. Tech Priest
Absolutely.
Dickie's also in the chat. Good to see you.
Oh, Dickie, my boy. Lovely to have you.
Irwin, hope you get to feeling better.
Yeah. All right, Dustin, tell us a story.
I will tell you a story of the Assimilation Swarm, the Hive Tyrant with instinctive defense. So they have free heroic and fights first. Very big.
Very
Neuro
nice.
Tyrant, Swarm Lord, a Biovore, Haruspecs, 22 Neurogaunts. I like that. I like that a lot. 2 Neurolictors because they went down 10 points. Why wouldn't you take Neurolictors now? A Psychophage, a 3/3/1 Pyrovores, 2x1 Ripper Swarms, 2x6 Tyrant Guard, 3 Venom Thropes, and 6 Zoanthropes. So the 2x6 Tyrant Guards are being joined by the Tyrant and the Swarm Lord, and the Zoanthropes being joined by the Tyrant, the Neuro Tyrant.
Neuro Tyrant. Why Neurogaunts over, say, Hormigans, mate?
Well, the Neurogaunts are better for holding backfield stuff. Plus, they give up
Cull.
all the Horde.
So you can't auto re-rack it.
You can't auto re-rack it. They're going to be in the back. They spread out the synapse as well, and it's only 90 points for 22 models.
Yeah, it's very cheap.
And they'll be
wow.
-1 because they're near the Venom Thropes. They can still heal if they want to. Like when I say heal, I mean like respawn. It's a very annoying list to deal with because this is the healing respawning one. So every turn you're going to heal at least 1 Tyrant Guard. You're going to heal a Zoanthrope.
Yeah. So it's 2 big melee bricks, the 2 Tyrant Guard with their respective tyrants. Then we've got 1 big Gribbly, aggressive Gribbly in the Haruspecs, a support Gribbly to give the field no pain in the Psychophage, 1 very good anti-tank option in the Zoanthropes, which is probably going to be shooting from long range trying to crack transports, so you can gobble them up. And then Pyrovores for like annoying spread, and guess what? Flamers.
Yeah, lots of flamers.
So
well, they also
are flamers.
They have the Harvester keywords, so they also trigger all the healing, and they're actually really annoying to shift when there's 3 of them in a squad and they respawn a whole T6 5 wound model with a 3-up save. That's a pain.
Yeah,
and they can have a 4 on field no pain. You know,
if we didn't mention, this is Matt Evans' list from the Denver Mountain Trolls. If we didn't mention that at the start, but yeah, what do you think of this list overall? Is it any good? Because I feel like this is quite a good pressure list, but I felt like this list would be dropping off because of the game got very hard for 3 wound Marines, essentially. The game got very punishing to 3 wound Marines for a time there. Do you think because people are moving towards killing Eldar, they're not going to have that multi-damage, in mass profile to kill things like the Tyrant Guard?
It's not even the mass damage. It's really the biggest detriment to something like this is Oath of Moment with +1 to wound. Because
that's right. Yeah.
With the -1 to hit and T8 on the Tyrant Guard, like it is a very hard unit to shift. They'll have a 6-up field no pain as well because of the Psychophage. Like they are very durable. But if you have full rerolls and bonuses to wound or rerolls to wound, like before I would have said Bridgehead is actually really good at dealing with it. They are no longer that good at dealing with it.
Correct. Yeah,
so
correct.
The meta has actually shifted in a way that this list is very good into it. There are some bad ones. Like I said, the Ultramarine build will be very tough for this one to do. If you get aggressive enough, you might be able to tie them up and deal with it, but they will kill them. But assimilation, this style of assimilation is very good at scoring primary and denying primary.
Yeah, I love it. And yeah, I echo what you said. Like a unit of 6 Plasma Inceptors coming down with rerolls to hit +1 to wound is just a problem. Just a big problem.
That's a problem.
Yeah, because they might not kill. They won't kill the whole squad. There's no way. A Tyrant Guard 3 wins or 4 wins?
The 3. No.
Yeah.
I want to say they're actually 4. Man, I gotta actually look at them.
He's counting.
Paul got him stumped.
I'll go to the chart.
Look at the big brain bug over here. Doesn't even know the wounds on Tyrant Guard.
Yeah, because I have not used it in quite a while. I own 12. I have not played them in a while.
4 wounds.
They are 4 wounds.
4 wounds.
So there you go.
That's good. That's a good
profile.
break.
They are. I do remember that they used to be 2-up save, but they're 3-up now, which is obviously not as good.
Less ideal.
Less ideal.
With a 5-up feel no pain if the character is leading them.
Okay.
The character
not them.
Yeah,
that's
They would. So you can't precision out trying to precision out a Hive Tyrant in a Tyrant Guard is just not a thing. Not a thing you can do. Unless the new Custodians attachment could do it because they give precision to the whole unit. Then it might be worth it. Like a full unit of Wardens with +1 hit, +1 to wound charging into that thing. Sure, you take a swing for the Hive Tyrant.
I mean, you'd still be better off to kill the guard though.
Yeah, you could like 4 or 5 times
Yeah.
that. It's fine. Anyway, so that is that list, and our next one is Mike Pestilence from Warhammer playing Chaos Demons, and this is Shadow Legion. So I went out of my way to make sure I got 4 very unique lists, if not new iterations on lists, like we saw with the Orcs and the Astral Militarum. So this is like a beautiful first press Shadow Legion list. Starts off with Bellicor, of course, a Bloodthirster with Fade to Darkness. So that's if you at the end of the fight phase, you can bounce back into reserve. So the Bloodthirster shoots out like a unit of Warp Talons, and slobber knocks something and then bounces out. It's a very, very, very good unit. Got a Fate Skimmer with Leaping Shadows, 2 Ren Masters on Blood Thrones. That's the one that points at a unit at the start of the fight phase, and you get the plus all the good stuff, damage, AP, all the things you need. 2x10 Bloodletters, a unit of 6 and a unit of 3 Nurglings, a single Beast of Nurgle, the ubiquitous now 3x5 Fleshhounds, and a unit of 6 Screamers. And I did actually have a little think about this, because I really like how the Screamers and the Fate Skimmer go together. Because the Fate Skimmer is the Chariot one, and they go together like peas and gravy. They're fantastic. And then lastly, we have 2x10 Cultists. What do you think of this list, boys? Because this is like brand new stuff.
I love most of this. I think a lot of this is exactly what you're going to see in Shadow Legions, except I don't see any Havocs. Crazy.
No Havocs? Yeah, it's very light on the CSM.
Points get thin.
Points do get thin, like we were saying. Maybe put everything else in. It was like, oh, I forgot the Havocs. Oh, well, don't need them. I got enough.
Yeah. Essentially, he's just making the bet that he doesn't need them, which I'm not going to tell you is wrong, because I do not believe it is. Where's the...
No, the 3x5 Fleshhounds are definitely ubiquitous in this, though. I think you always want those. I think at least one Beast of Nurgle is, too, to be honest, in any demon attachment.
Yeah. So the way the Leaping Shadows works is that's the Scout 9. So that's on the Fate Skimmer that then joins the 6 Screamers. So you got a unit of 6 Screamers that just Scout 9. And then, of course, you can beam them back into reserve at opportunistic moments. And, of course, they're Zinch marked, so they're going to be -1 to hit in perpetuity. So they get -1 to hit, 4 up invulnerable save. They're going to do flyover mortals. They're actually quite good as a unit of 6 for killing transports and tagging and chewing through some of the more durable mechanized options in the game. I really like that unit. I'm not sure it's worth the points all the time, but I'm really happy to see someone taking it and giving it a crack, and I'm really going to be paying attention to how well Mike does with this list. But yeah, like I said, so this is what I mean. So once you get Bellicor, the Thirster, and like the 1 or 2 Ren Masters, and then you have to take Nurglings, and you kind of have to take Fleshhounds, and then you're very incentive to take some Cultists, because they're fantastic. They have big spread. They're essentially worthless, and then they just go out and be annoying little buggers. And also they hold board, so you can have good uppy downy options, so people don't lock down your deep strikes and your recycles. So I really like that addition. But then once you get to there, you're like, okay, so I can either have a Juggernaut Herald with a unit of Blood Crushers. I can have a Fade Skimmer with a unit of Screamers. I can have the Havocs. There's so many like 450 point-ish like add-ins to that list.
Yeah,
but I don't think it's very far from solved, is what I'm saying.
No, definitely.
And so lots of experimentation. I think it could be a lot of fun out there to try and figure out what works, what doesn't, and what fits your play style.
I do really like the Screamer units. Like, I like the big Screamer. Like, I even like 2 big ones and a small one. I love the Screamers in this attachment. Yeah. Love them.
It's really just whether, because they do a similar job with, they got a little bit more jank to them, but they do a similar job to the Crushers. The Crushers are just like much more of a straight line punishing bully unit that has to go around walls, whereas the Screamers, because you can give Scout 9 to either one of them.
Yep.
And but the Screamers are like, do the flyover mortals as well. They can, because they fly, they can go a lot deeper into your opponent's lines. But yeah, it's just whether I think you need to have that unit, that like hammer unit that gets respect.
Yeah, and I think that's actually why, because a lot of people would, Dorian's saying it too as well. Like, a lot of people were leaning towards the Great Unclean one with the Scout 9. But honestly, in this meta, it is so killy right now. I don't think you want a durable unit with the Scout. You want an aggressive unit to really Yeah.
Well, so yeah, boys, time to pick us some more winners. Mr. Ustin is still picking last. Paul, what would you like? Paul, you're up.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I was actually thinking about the environment in this area here. I feel like I gotta go with Orcs.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, you kind of do. I will. Oh, do I want to cut Dusty's lunch and pick Nids? I'm not gonna do that to him. I'll pick the Astramil.
It's better.
You picking the Nids, mate?
I'm picking the Nids, absolutely.
For sure. How can you with those numbers?
With
how
those
would you not
numbers,
back
I
it?
cannot avoid
Yeah.
taking this.
Yeah. It's the rules, man.
It is the rules.
Look,
It's like
if
the
you
number
made
one
it
rule.
this far, please consider hitting those likes and subscribes and stuff. That's right down at the bottom of this page. That's a hassle-free way of interacting with the show. If you'd like to do something maybe a little bit more of a support, check out our Patreon. The Patreon gets access to our Discord. If you're in tier 2 or higher, you actually get access to a second part of this show where we look back at the events and see how well we predicted the outcomes. We also talk about some of the lists that won. We go down the top 10s. We do a lot of analysis on that, looking back a little bit, and you also get to pick some Fuego topics, which we're about to get to the segment here in a minute.
I just want to do one shout out. I want to shout out Wolf Priest Carl because he's been a long-term supporter and live chat enthusiast for us. And every week, without fail, when he's able to be here, he tells us he's picking Space Wolves. One day, sir, one day it will happen. And when it does, I will be shouting out you.
And when it does, you will be getting 10 points in our
There will be the wolf time. You know it. You know it eventually.
Even a broken clock, mate. Even a broken. We love you for it. I appreciate it.
Oh, so the segment we're about to get to has sometimes very little to do with Warhammer 40,000. It is the palate cleanser. After we've been talking about the meta, the crunchy, the wins, the stats, the outcomes, the grit, the world-spanning fun phenom that is Warhammer 40K. Now we talk about something that might be silly. We've been on a bit of a tangent in the last several weeks, trying to crown the best movie or property of all time in our minds.
In our minds, but again, we are proven to pick the top winners.
Oh, so we now have a bracket.
We now
is
have
that
a bracket.
Where we're at now?
We're at the bracket
and now,
stage.
So now we're. Have you seeded these films?
They have been randomly seeded. I haven't looked at the seeding, so I put them into our slides for the first round.
Random seed is cool because we're now going to match off films, and there's 3 of us here, so we can.
It's got to be 2 to 1.
Debate it and vote.
Yep.
To see which will battle, and depending on the seed you win, it's anybody's game.
It's anybody's game.
So once we do something like this, we abandon this type of topic, never to return to it again, unless the patrons declare it.
Yeah, so once we get through movies, if everybody likes seeing that, then we'll do either music or video games next. But we have a lot of movies to get through because we're starting with the first one. 16 in each of these genres. The first up tonight is the horror genre. It is time for the movie playoffs, gentlemen. It is starting off with horror. So, are you ready to do this? Let's do this. The first matchup is The Thing versus Nosferatu.
And we said the original Nosferatu, right?
Oh, the original Nosferatu, not the new one.
Well, which one do you think is better is the question.
Well, so I believe the new one was quite good.
It was,
but the first one was instrumental in the genre being a thing.
Yeah, you don't get the new one without the old one. So
correct. Yeah. You don't get a lot. You don't get a lot without the old one.
That said, I think the thing's better.
Despite that, the thing.
I will accept being outvoted on this. And
we're gonna go
Nosferatu, right?
Yeah, because look, I mean, there's also like a movie called Shadow the Vampire. Like, there's so many things that have been spun. I'm saying The Thing has not also been an iconic movie, but I think there's. I'm voting on several different factors here. How many times it's been memed? Is it quotable? How many times have I seen it? There are lots of contributing factors. Do I just have a special feel for it?
So I will say, like, if you look at the legacies of these two, the Nosferatu wins every time. Every time. The legacy, what it created, what it spawned,
what it changing your vote
now. No. Because I'm just going to look at this movie. It's just
paying respect.
I'm paying my respect while not picking it. Because if I just sit down to watch a movie for joy and interest and things like that, The Thing. Also, some of the best practical effects in any movie of all time ever.
That's fair. So is that 2 to 1 for The Thing?
Yeah, 2 to 1 for The Thing.
It is.
All right.
Yeah.
First round in. I do actually have a bracket that I'm keeping score of this too, so we'll have the record of it. All right, next up. Halloween versus Jaws. Ooh.
You did this randomly, right?
I did this randomly.
Ooh.
I mean, it's
Paul,
Jaws. It's Jaws.
I think
I think it has to be Jaws.
I mean, think of the movie poster. Think of And we're only thinking about Jaws 1, right? Not the fourth one where they try. Well, this time it's personal
Basically,
and
the
Jaws travels.
best one.
Well,
Which is-
yeah, because if you compared all the Jaws versus all the Halloweens, that's just going to take us an hour, and they're all bad. Apart from a couple, there's a handful of good and some awful. Like Jaws 2 is like 60% worse than Jaws 1, and still better than some of the Halloweens. And then some
Everybody
of the Halloweens
knows
are like
Mike
double
Myers.
fist dunking on some of the Jaws 19s and
Mm.
whatever. I think it's Jaws though. Like
Everybody knows that
it made
Inside Out Kirk mask.
dude, the score for Jaws, the dread, the unknown, all that stuff.
The quotability.
The
We're gonna need a
quotability.
bigger boat.
Yeah. Now, if this was Friday the 13th, the original, maybe
Hey, that's
it beats
later.
Jaws.
That's later. Hey,
Maybe
it might
beats
go up
Jaws,
against it at some
but,
point, so we're gonna have
like, because so what? So the three like slasher like is like there's Halloween, there's Friday the 13th, and then which one is
Nightmare on
Ski
Elm
Mask?
Nightmare on
So
Elm
yeah,
Street.
Friday the 13th, and then Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah. So that's what I meant. If Nightmare on Elm Street went up against Jaws, maybe. But yeah,
So
nah,
Jaws
wins for me.
3-0.
Yep.
Jaws.
Oof, Halloween. Halloween did not deserve
It's big.
that.
No, it did
That's-
not.
It
That's
did
like
not
that's
deserve
like on the
that.
draw. Sorry, Halloween.
All right, next
We
up,
didn't do it to you. The randomizer did.
Nightmare on Elm
Yep.
Street versus The Ring.
Elm Street.
Elm Street.
Yeah, Elm Street. That one.
The Ring is good, and we're talking about the Japanese version of The Ring, which is
Yeah.
very good and better than the Western remake. But it still don't beat Nightmare on Elm Street.
There's no.
I don't know.
It definitely. It was that next, like there was a stretch of horror movies that didn't creep me out. The Ring definitely creeped me out.
Yeah,
Like that was like the beginning of the new creep you out phase.
I think so.
Yeah.
That's why we put it on here, right? So.
So here's the fundamental difference, right? One of these movies made you afraid to go to sleep, which is a thing you do every day. The other one made you afraid to watch weird VHSs that you found randomly in your parents' house, which you should have been afraid of anyway. So
That's fair.
It's Nightmare on Elm Street, 100%.
Yeah. All right. Next one. Bram Stoker's Dracula versus The Exorcist.
Oh, why do you have to do this to Bram Stoker's Dracula? Because it's going to lose to The Exorcist.
So what? Stoker's Dracula is not just a horror movie, where The Exorcist is just a horror movie, and this is the horror movies category. So The Exorcist unfortunately has to win.
The Exorcist is like an almost one and only like horror movie.
This is the horror category, but some of them are like kind of doubling in. It's like if Bram Stoker's is better than The Exorcist in your mind, you got to vote for Bram Stoker's.
Yeah, but it's not.
But it's not.
It's not. The Exorcist is.
I don't know.
Is
I mean, better
fantastic.
movie. It is a better movie.
Yeah.
I mean come on, Gary Oldman's in it. All right, fine. Dracula.
I mean,
Maybe,
you could be Gary Oldman
you're
right
allowed
now.
to say different than you don't have to agree with us.
But I'm.
I know this. See this, but there's you have to walk through the process. There's a lot of calculations going on up here.
Yeah. So is that 2-1 for The Exorcist?
Yeah, I believe it
I
is.
think so. Yeah.
Dracula.
Gosh darn, that hurts me more than Halloween.
That's another one that just didn't deserve that. But Halloween really didn't deserve that one. But
No.
I'm Skellion.
all right,
Way off character.
Blair Witch Project versus Night of the Living Dead.
This is. I think this is a very even lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah. This
Both of them.
they did a very good
both
job
of them
of
were-
seeding these.
Yeah, both of them were very formative for their genre of horror. Like,
Okay,
I mean, Night of the Living Dead essentially.
What would
spawned-
you watch right now?
Night of the Living Dead, hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down.
I think Night of
Once
the
you-
Living Dead has to win. And there's a point. There's like one or two very small things that take me out of the moment in Blair Witch Project.
Me too.
Mhm.
And I don't get that from Night of the Living Dead. I'm just in pure nostalgia and people, craftsmen doing the love of what they're trying to do.
So one of these movies spawned the fun and joy that has been the zombie genre that has gone for probably going to go for hundreds of years. And one of these spawned fucking shaky cam that has given me nausea and annoyed the crap out of me because it just got used by freaking everybody as the let's just be cheap and use shaky cam instead of trying to make good cinematography.
Yep.
Yeah. And plus Blair Witch has like no rewatchability
Yeah.
in my mind. You've seen it once. There's like no need to watch it again. Because as soon as you watch it a second time, you're like, these people are stupid and deserve to die.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Night of the Living Dead. 3-0,
Is that a
baby.
3-0?
Swish.
Paul, you were on Night of the Living Dead too?
Oh yeah. Not only does sorry, there was no question.
All right. The next one. Poltergeist versus Friday the 13th.
Another good matchup, but I think I know which way I'm going.
Yeah.
So Poltergeist. I mean, it's Friday the 13th. Poltergeist has a lot going for it.
It
You
does.
know, like
I didn't.
idea of burial grounds when that was a big deal. The TV.
Yeah.
There's a Misfits song about it. But Friday the 13th has to take
I
this.
think I'm Friday the 13th.
It's Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
I just didn't find Poltergeist that scary when I watched it. I even watched it like as a like early teen, and I was like, this is kind of
But was
okay.
it
Fine.
entertaining enough?
It was made for mass market. Like it was
Yeah,
made for mass
yeah.
market.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think Friday the 13th was necessary. I mean, of course, everybody wants
Yeah.
a movie to hit it big, but like it was made to be. And then like the slow walking, slasher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no Poltergeist 17. There's Poltergeist never went to space. It's the future.
Yeah.
Oh, Jason shouldn't have either. Let's be real. He shouldn't have. All right, so that's a 3-0 for Friday the 13th then. From the sounds of it.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, next up, Hellraiser versus Evil Dead.
Ooh, this
Shop
is
smart
too.
Shop S Mart.
Evil Dead. Well, yeah.
Evil Dead all day long. I mean,
I
don't get me wrong. The Hellraisers very snappy dressers, and the box is terrifying. But say hello to my boomstick.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of has to be Evil Dead here for the sheer joy of watching the film. Whereas I have yet to watch Hellraiser twice, the original at least.
I think that's where it is.
Whereas Evil Dead, I will sit down with popcorn at the drop of a hat because it's just a fun freaking time.
Yeah.
So yeah, Evil Dead for me.
Is that a 3-0 for Evil Dead?
Yeah.
Okay. And the last in round one before we get into the round two is It versus The Shining. No. Do I even need to ask you guys?
The Shining.
The Shining.
That's not even a thing. See it. And that is, I don't even care if that's the first one, second one, third one, 14th one. I don't give a crap. The Shining windmill slam.
Tim Curry.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. That's two Stephen Kings, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Is The Shining Stephen King?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's two Stephen Kings right there.
That's funny.
And these things aren't created equal.
Okay, and now we're on to round two. So these ones I have slides prepared for because I didn't know who was going to win. So here we go. Round two, the quarterfinals, The Thing versus Jaws.
Oh, man. See. I mean, it's Jaws. It's got to be Jaws.
It's got to be Jaws. It's Jaws for me.
I say The Thing.
Really?
So what I would need to tackle Jaws is something that is as memorable, as quotable, and that made you not want to do something. Like you didn't want to go to the beach after you saw Jaws.
Yeah, I didn't want to use a defibrillator when I saw The Thing. The chest is gonna eat me. This is good in chat. We've got disagreements.
Yeah, I like this.
A lot of people have said it pretty much exactly mostly in agreement with our votes, but this is like 50-50.
Now we're getting to when the bigger ones are clashing. You see, so.
Okay, I'm not changing my vote, but I can see why Jaws.
So it's 2-1 Jaws?
It is 2-1 Jaws.
2-1 Jaws. And the next one, Nightmare on Elm Street versus The Exorcist.
Oh.
I mean,
this is rough.
It really is. I mean, more people know about the, spitting pea soup. I need a young priest and an old priest. That was in, what is it, Austin Powers or whatever.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I don't know anybody, but there's been songs about Freddy.
Yeah, I mean everything about The Exorcist is perfect. Like it is like it is for what it is, as in it's like a slow paced, like little to no action, just like visual effects, spooky, eerie. It does it almost better than anything. The Shining may be on its level for spooky, eerie. Yeah, I think it wins. I think Exorcist is my vote.
I think I have to go Exorcist as well.
Yeah, 3-0 on Exorcist.
Yeah. I mean,
Sorry,
I am on the fence.
Again, Freddy didn't deserve it, but that's just how.
So Nightmare on Elm Street is my favorite horror. Or
well, that's big of you
know.
then, because you acknowledge just like the filmness is just better
Yeah.
on Exorcist, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, seeing inflatable Johnny Depp being dragged through the bed was pretty good. It was so obviously an inflatable doll. I loved it so much.
And they use that gimmick a lot. Pulled through the
yeah,
hole
through
in
the door as
end
well.
and,
It's just like, yeah, it's like, how much we got left in the coffers, boys? We got 350, and like, all right, inflatable dolls it is. We ain't getting mannequins for that money.
And then a comment in the chat is that Elm Street was a kids movie. Like I think a lot of good things about these horror movies is that they took themselves seriously within the context of the movie, but knew what they were doing, and that's part of part of the fun sometimes.
So that's the Exorcist 3.0.
Exorcist. Yep.
Okay. Next up, Night of the Living Dead versus Friday the 13th.
Ooh, I'm still going Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, I don't know. I think Friday the 13th's got to take this.
Dustin, man in the middle.
Crap.
You got to say it quick, otherwise you get stuck with the responsibility.
I know.
Just get it out.
Just get it out.
All right, make your case. Paul, make your case for why. I'll make my case for why.
Okay.
Okay, sure. All right. So, I mean, like, hockey masks are still sold everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, they're come Halloween season, they are in every convenience store, every Spirit, every drugstore, or sorry, every grocery store. And it is a genre. When people think of sneaking up on somebody, they play the Halloween music in their head. I'm sorry, the Friday the 13th music in their head.
Oh, that. Yeah, they do.
So wait, this is Jason? Yeah, this isn't Mike.
Yeah.
This is Jason.
It's Jason.
I see Jason as the weakest of the three. When you go for me, it goes Freddy, Michael, Jason.
Oh, that's a hot take.
And
what?
Yeah,
Freddy is a dream construct and doesn't really exist.
I know. That's why I love him. Because he's essentially
Mike Myers,
essentially an evil jester.
For the majority of the movies, he's just a dude. Like Jason's the one that's been electrocuted and shot into frozen and carbonite.
That's why I like Michael, because Michael is just a dude doing horrific things, and Freddy is just like essentially a jester. Like, he's a dream jester that just likes carving people up. But so my Night of the Living Dead is suspense. It's practical effects. It was sport. It was doing something brand freaking new at the time, and it has got a legacy that is. I think it's got the longest and most prevalent legacy in life, pop culture, movies, influence, because essentially every zombie film, everything draws straight back a lineage to Night of the Living Dead.
You know what? And I'll preface this by saying, if Halloween went up against Friday the 13th, I'd be picking Halloween. So this is actually Night of the Living Dead for me.
Oh, sucker Paul. Oh,
look, we have this forum here. We have
great.
There are comment section available right below where you're watching this.
Paul crashes the table. Democracy doesn't work.
That's too.
Yeah.
That was rough.
That was hard.
That was rough.
But so you agree with me? You think Halloween's better than Friday the 13th?
I do. Yes, I do.
I think in general. In
general, yes.
Mostly because Jason is the space.
And this is not taking anything away from Jason, because I love those. I love. I was going to say those movies. That's not true. I love that movie.
Yeah.
It's like the Star Trek stuff. If you pick and choose which ones you watch, you're going to be great. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. The last of the quarterfinals is Evil Dead versus The Shining.
For me, it has to be The Shining. I think.
Nah, Evil Dead. Evil Dead. They made that money. They made that movie that you're still talking about today for like $47.
That's true,
dude. One of us,
Bruce Campbell, Sam Raimi,
Red Rum, like all these things are just freaking prevalent. His Johnny, where did that go? Like, it's everywhere. Like and plus, I'm just gonna say this: the cinematography, the score, the acting. Unfortunately, apart from Bruce Campbell, is just of a better standard in The Shining. Bruce Campbell can do no wrong.
Like, her scream, Shelley Duvall's scream, is like also pretty iconic.
That's
and,
true.
Yeah, and her ash.
And that scene where he catches, they're walking down the hallway and he catches the axe in the stomach. That probably still scares me today.
Yeah, and look, they did that with very little violence. There was very little action and violence in that film. Like, there's almost none until like the last 20 minutes. Yeah, so well done, The Shining. Yeah,
I'm not changing my vote.
No, you shouldn't. Evil Dead deserves a vote here for sure.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, we are on to the semifinals, gentlemen. The semifinal match number 1 is Jaws versus The Exorcist.
I knew this was going to happen.
Jaws was a good run.
I was doing the math in my head, and Jaws, you had a good run.
Jaws had a good run.
I think we 3-0 on The Exorcist as a horror film.
Well, because
it just wins.
Remember, this is the horror genre, but that doesn't mean we're basing it on it being a horror movie.
We can base it on whatever we want.
Okay, you know what?
My first criteria is it a good movie? Like, is it a good watch, regardless of its genre? And like everything that makes the top 16s are, though, which is annoying. We got to put some more stinkers in there. Like it, just got to get some more trash to we
think about it. The number 16 seed could have fought its way to the top. It didn't.
Jaws is a fantastic film. You can watch it like every month. It's a good freaking time. The Exorcist is formative and like so it's on, like, to me, it's Exorcist and Shining, I think, are going to be my final
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what it's going to be,
because they're just like films of another level. They're like those Oscar-worthy, genre-defining films.
So on that subject, the other semifinal is The Shining versus Night of the Living Dead.
The Shining.
Yeah, The Shining.
Right?
Yeah. Why did this get easy? How did this get easier than the quarters in the first round?
That means we go right to the finals. That means we are choosing the best horror movie film of all time, according to the Meta Chasers, between The Exorcist and The Shining.
It's The Shining.
Who's going to be brave and go first?
It's The Shining.
Paul just did it.
Dustin, are you on The Shining as well?
Yep.
Me too.
Yep.
Unanimous at the finish line.
Yep.
I think The Shining has a few things The Exorcist doesn't. The Exorcist has the devil right from the beginning, and as a horror film, I like to eat my meal in little bites. You don't know what's going to happen at the end of The Exorcist if the child's going to get saved, but essentially it boils down to just one child's like well-being in life. The Shining is a tale of woe and like misery of this hotel from like perpetual generations and all these things. It's just got more. It's just got more to sink your teeth into in my mind.
Yep. So there we have it. The winner of the horror genre is The Shining, and it will be moving on to the finals, which will be of our 8 genres. The Shining will be representing the horror genre, and just seeing how well it does against the other winners, which will be interesting.
Did The Shining did The Shining win any Oscars? I'd like to know if The Shining did, or
best original score.
No, it didn't.
Really?
No nominations. There you go. And Exorcist?
Movies like this have only, like, in recent memory, I think, started to get the nods of things.
The Exorcist got 10 nominations and went on to win 2 Oscars: Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Sound. So not the big Oscar wins, but very, very good. There you go.
That is our show this week. It has been a pleasure hanging out with y'all in chat, and of course y'all on the show. Looking forward, next week might be difficult for us to do a live show because next week is Adepticon, and a lot of gamers will be in Milwaukee for the first time at Adepticon. So tune in. Oh, go ahead.
Straight up, Paul and I will probably still be live, streaming games at Adepticon at this time next Thursday. So come and join us. Come and watch. I literally, we might be able to pull this off at 9:00 on the Warhammer stream. We will do an Adepticon faction breakdown at a minimum, because we want to do that on the main show anyway. But I'll time it for 9:00 so that if the Meta Chasers want their meta chasing, you can come check it out.
9 p.m. Eastern. Yep. we're going to try to do it all the same. If we're there, we're doing it, and it's going to be great. Come join us for Adepticon coverage. You can find us on the Games Workshop Twitch stream. We'll certainly be talking about there. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. All this stuff. So you can come hang out with us each and every week as we talk about these tournaments leading up to it. Adepticon going to be a giant field, lots of tournaments to be had. See what's going to be happening, what's going to be winning there. Going to be a lot of top players in attendance. Chat, thank you all very much for hanging out with us and your contributions to our spirited. See what I did there? How horror movie spirited debate.
Yeah.
About these films. I look forward to doing more of that with y'all. We'll see y'all next week, everybody. Have a good night.
See you.